Hey, everybody, welcome back. Just finished updating my website for the second quarter trades, and I wanted to take some time and go through them here and do a little bit of a trade review with you guys. So you can see here, here's May, 5%, June, 7.71%, and boom, July, 21.9%, just knocked it out of the ballpark. So I'd like to go through some of these trades with you guys to help you understand, why I took them, and how you can learn that you can make money from trading as well too when you understand institutions the way that I teach it to you, institutional trading the way I teach it to you. So real quickly, let's go through it. I'm going to talk about my biggest trade, Facebook, okay? And some of you might say, wow, you shorted Facebook puts before earnings. That was super ballsy, and I actually posted that inside my StockTwits account. So if you don't believe me, just go to StockTwits and you'll see here that was a free trade that I gave away inside my StockTwits account, and I called it out and actually made a video on it. So just follow me on StockTwits. I do give a lot of free stuff out. So why did I trade Facebook? And for some of you, you might be saying, like, that's just insanity, right? And so let me explain it. So this was a combination of first basically understanding how institutions do things and fundamental drivers. So it's putting together two pieces of information that allowed me to make this trade. Again, this trade was, go check it out on StockTwits. I posted this before it happened, okay? You don't just have to be a member of my website to learn how to do this, but it's a really simple thing. So I'm going to explain the trade to you because it will really help you understand future fundamental drivers. So I want you to take a notice of this day right here, all right? And this was the day when the Cambridge Analytica scandal came out on Facebook. Now, what was happening in this particular case is that, I'm just going to turn up my microphone here. What was happening in this particular case is that, Cambridge Analytica had admitted to buying data from Facebook and using it to potentially influence and rig the election, okay? And so this is when the information came out, right? And the market initially had a massive sell-off, right, all the way down to 150. Now, if you understand how institutions work, you'll understand by looking at this chart that institutions don't just buy here and then just hold. No, they have campaigns. So they buy here, they buy here, they buy here, they buy here, they buy here. And so when the market's dropping, their average cost is probably going to be around, I'd say 108 to 90, somewhere in there. So when bad news comes out, bad fundamental news, and they own 70%, 80% of the float, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to panic and just start selling all of those hundreds of millions and not billions of dollars worth of shares? No, of course not. They're not going to do that. Why would they do that? Because if they did that, they would become the market, and the market would just totally collapse. Now, if the news was bad enough, they will sometimes do that. But in this case, the news, they knew that the next earnings was going to come out on the 4th, and that there was going to be really no effect of the Cambridge Analytica data on the next earnings. If anything, the next earnings was going to be good, because they didn't have, Facebook doesn't have to spend any money on fixing that problem. Now, why is it going to cost Facebook money to fix that problem? Well, for a number of reasons. They're going to have to hire a tremendous amount of staff in order to make sure that never happens again. Plus, they're going to have to really put their advertisers underneath a microscope, and they're going to lose a ton of revenue based on doing that. But that wasn't going to be projected in the next earnings. So what institutions do is they stop selling. And this may shock some of you. They'll actually start buying. I know, it's crazy, but it's true. They'll start buying. Why? Because if they start buying here and they can drive the price to new highs, which is pretty easy for them to do because they pretty much own 80% of the float, then what will happen is that their average price, even though they're buying at 150, is going to be somewhere around 110 now. So if their average price was 100, now their average price might be 125. Now what they can do is now when it's up at 220, now they can start to sell into this strength. Okay? And that's what they're doing. They're creating bag holders. Institutions always buy on weakness and sell on strength. So when the market started to climb up here, all the public thinks, oh my God, the trouble's over. Facebook is going to go to be the next $1 trillion company. And, blah, 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 blah. All the retail people pile in. And that gives the institutions some time to basically sell into this strength. Okay? So I knew that it was going to cost Facebook a tremendous amount of money to fix that problem. I knew it wasn't going to be represented during this earnings season, but I knew it was going to come out during this earnings season. I personally think Facebook is finished. I think the stock is going to ultimately drop back down somewhere near 100, not just on Facebook alone, but I do think the markets have gotten very pricey, and I think these valuations are done. Okay, so that was a pretty easy trade for me, and it ended up resulting in one of my largest returns of 11%, which is where a big chunk of that came from. Now, I want to talk about another fundamental trade here, and that was done in June. That was TAL. And I want to give a shout out. Let's look at that stock. Kind of a similar situation to Facebook. TAL. Now, this stock looks really parabolic, doesn't it? Well, this is a Chinese company that has done a reverse merger, I believe, and that is cooking the books. If you haven't seen the movie, The China Hustle, right? Hustle? Go watch that movie. This is a brilliant documentary, okay? And in that documentary, one of the guys that's actually featured in this documentary is a guy by the name of Muddy Waters. And I want to give a shout out to my boy. Absolutely love this guy. I want to be him when I grow up. I love his thing too. Activist, short seller, skeptic, always suspicious of puppies and rainbows. He gave me this trade. I've been following him on Twitter, and I looked into it. I didn't follow him blindly, obviously, but I definitely take a heads up when these big guys pay attention. And so TAL was another situation very similar to Facebook. Here's the information that came out where Muddy Waters said that they're cooking the books. And the stock had initial drop, it popped, I shorted it, and then same story. Okay? Again, same thing. Now in this case, because the news was so bad, the institutions weren't able to push it to new highs. But it's the same concept, okay? Just understanding order flow, putting order flow together with a deep understanding of fundamentals, and when fundamentals are changing, you can spot these trades that can result in phenomenal things. Now, for my students that are watching this is really advanced stuff. This is not the stuff I want my students doing in the first 1 or 2 years. It is the more advanced trades that are more dangerous. We'll talk about one other trade here that is very typical that I teach my students to stick to, and that is we'll talk about this one here. We'll talk about a very standard trade, and that was snap short. Okay, and we'll talk about that. This is the kind of stuff that I usually like my students to focus on as they're learning things. This was a really easy trade here, guys. Just a short here. My students will understand why this is a really simple trade. Liquidity, value, the whole story, just easy trade, and results in a nice profit. So go back, watch that movie this weekend. Brilliant movie, The China Hustle. If you like The Big Short, you'll love this. Just a review of all of my trades, and having a great month. I'm offering a special right now for anybody. If you're interested, go to my website, and I don't think it's up yet, but for the remainder of August, I'm going to do a 25% discount on all of my services. Any of my services. I don't know why my website is so slow. I changed servers. And this one's already on sale. 25% off either one of these two services for the remainder of August. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you, and bye for now.